All right. What's going on, everybody? Blaise over here, Mia over there. I don't know if you'll be able to see her. We're going to be talking to you guys today about fitness myths. We're going to debunk some, go through some of our favorites, and then catch up a little bit about some program things that we have going on. But before we get going, just wanted to announce to everybody that we started working with First Form. Really excited to be doing that. They are a supplement company that makes all different types of things, protein sticks, supplement powders, greens, proteins, creatine, you name it. They've got pretty much everything under the sun. If you're interested in getting hooked up with any of their stuff, let us know. We'll be able to send you guys links to some of the stuff that we like the best. Personally, I'm super into the meat sticks right now, like 20 grams of protein. They're super clean and have been really great for us. So just want to make sure I threw that plug in there before we kind of got going. Mia, what's happening, dude? You ready to get this thing ripping?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Oh, baby. Okay. So right before this, I was telling Mia that I went on to Chat GPT, which I will tell you, I kind of love to do things kind of like this episode here, and looked up the top 20 fitness myths that exist. And we picked a couple of them that we want to chat about, but we'll kind of go through some of these things. The first one I'm going to do for my ladies out there, and Mia, it's great that you're here so you can answer this and we can talk about it too. And it's the number 3 fitness myth that I got, which was lifting weights will make women bulky. So talk to me a little bit about what your thoughts are on that. And then I can chime in as well, kind of as we go.
Yeah, I think whenever someone says that to me, like, hey, I just want to get lean, I don't want to get bulky, I straight up look them in the eyes and I say, do you think I'm bulky? And they say, no. I lift weights. And I don't think I'm bulky. I think I have more muscle mass than a lot of other women out there, and I'm proud of that, and I wear it like a badge of honor because I've worked really hard to be able to build that muscle mass. But I really don't think women are predispositioned to get bulky from lifting weights. I think the misconception is people want to lean out, and then I ask them, what does it mean to be lean? Being lean means that you have muscle and you have low body fat. So you still need that muscle on your body in order to present yourself as a lean woman. And I think when we look at some of the people that, yes, maybe we look at some women and they're a little bit bulkier than others, but that's because they've built this insane physique and they've put on all this muscle, and the sheer amount of volume and intensity and food that they have to eat to get to that level, it is very hard for them to be able to get to that level and sustain that level. So for someone who's just getting into the gym and wants to, get lean and put on a little bit of muscle, you're not going to get super bulky like that. It's going to take a very long time, a lot of hard work, and I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing to be considered quote unquote bulky. But just to reemphasize, you need to have some muscle mass in order to present as a lean individual.
Yeah, and really think about it too, right? Like just from a hormonal standpoint, I think that the amount of testosterone that women have naturally definitely puts you at a we'll call disadvantage to bulk easily, right? Like I feel like that's another piece of it just from a hormonal perspective. And then not to mention too, like how long does it take for you to put on muscle mass, right? Like if you really think about it, like there's charts, and I think Precision Nutrition actually does a really great job with breaking down like realistic muscle gain charts kind of for people that are new, intermediate, or advanced in the gym. And they can kind of break down like, hey, it's going to take you, a year to put on 10 pounds of lean muscle mass, which when you look at 10 pounds of lean muscle mass throughout the entire body, you're like, wow, that person is not, their full body is changing for sure. But it's definitely something that like as that lean muscle mass comes on, metabolisms change, you're burning more calories, you're doing all these other things, and you actually just end up really getting to that recomposition that you typically want from lifting the weights. And I couldn't agree more with you. I feel like women would be much better off if they were able to kind of take that step and lean into that myth and really kick it to the curb to be able to kind of make the progress that they want.
Yeah, and I think you like brought up a good point too about the metabolism. Like having more muscle on your body will increase your metabolism. So a lot of people, if they want to lose weight, their first thought is I need to go hit the treadmill and run and do all this cardio. But at the end of the day, like if you're building muscle and putting lean muscle onto your body, you're increasing your metabolism just at rest. So now you don't even have to do all this insane cardio to burn more calories throughout the course of the day. So, instead of killing yourself by trying to run super far or just sweat a ton, do these insane workouts, just building that lean muscle mass is a really easy way just to increase your daily metabolism.
Yeah, and that's also great points. Like we'll call it like it's almost kind of like a 401k, right? Like if you're putting money, aka like investment into building your lean muscle mass in the beginning, your exponential like curve of you being able to burn those calories off later on is going to be way greater. So I definitely like to kind of make a financial analogy where it's like, hey, if you're able to kind of deposit into your later self with a little bit of that training and a little bit of the load, especially. So all that to say, like when you're at the gym, don't be afraid to step up one dumbbell to the right. If you're normally picking up 20s, don't be afraid to take a 25 or, vice. Even if it's a smaller weight, it's okay if it's just a small shift. But what it's going to do over time, it's going to help you develop more of that muscle mass and really start to move the needle when it comes to the body that you kind of looking for and the one that you want from a performance perspective too.
Yeah. And I'll also say, just for women specifically, we're more inclined to like osteopenia and osteoporosis. So having that lean muscle mass is really critical for just overall longevity. And I think a lot of people, when they get to later stages in life and maybe they're starting to develop some risk factors for those conditions, that's when they decide, oh, shoot, maybe it's now time to start lifting weights. So like Blaise said, like investing in yourself now, just, building that muscle mass, training your body in the ways that it needs to be trained at an early age and continuing those healthy habits through life is just a really great investment, and definitely a good use of your time.
Yeah, fragility, right? Like, gosh, they say a lot of the people that are suffering from those things, you take a fall and you break a bone as an older person because you don't have the lean muscle mass to kind of cushion yourself. That puts you in a really, really tough spot. That's part of the reason why kids break more bones than adults, right? They don't have quite as much that's going to be around them. Their bones aren't quite as fully developed. And then the same thing with like older people. Like if an older person gets in a car wreck, they can break a femur a lot easier than like you or I could if they have neglected kind of their muscle building phase in that kind of section of their life. So definitely something I think to consider too. And this kind of leads us into our next point also, where it's like some people are under the impression we'll call this fitness myth number 2, that cardio is the only way to lose weight is myth number 2. Talk to me about what you think about cardio and what that can do for weight loss.
Yeah, I think so. I'm coming from the perspective of someone who does cardio pretty much every day. And I don't do it from a weight loss perspective. I do it from a pure enjoyment. Like I love the endorphin rush that you get. I love sweating. I love just feeling the way I feel after I do cardio. Um,
Just kidding.
A lot of people would not agree with what I'm saying, but like I love it. And I think cardio is a really great way to, yes, burn additional calories. If your goal is weight loss, you need to be in a calorie deficit. So essentially, the number of calories that you're taking in needs to be less than the number of calories that you expend. But I think doing cardio is just one portion of that. And when you really think about kind of your total energy expenditure throughout the day, your portion that comes from training is so small compared to like the rest of it. So just, your just daily movement throughout the day, just me just fidgeting right here, that's me burning calories. Your resting metabolic rate, the energy that your body uses to break down food in your system, like all those things are ways that we also burn calories. And that little fitness thing is just about like 15 to 20% at the end of the day. So you're not really necessarily moving the needle drastically by doing a ton of cardio. Whereas, like we just mentioned, if you're putting on lean muscle mass, you're now increasing that basal metabolic rate, which is going to be actually the largest chunk of your total energy expenditure throughout the day. So yes, cardio is one way in which you can help to increase the amount of calories that you're burning throughout the day, but you don't need to, like I said, be killing yourself on the treadmill. Just walking, just moving your body more throughout the day is actually going to be more beneficial in the long run than spending copious amounts of time doing insane amounts of cardio. And I think a lot of times too, with cardio, we then are not eating the right food in order to ensure that we're keeping muscle on our body. So if we're not eating enough protein, then our body's going to start to break down that muscle mass, which is then going to reduce, the overall amount that our body's burning at rest. So making sure that if we are doing lots of cardio, we still are ensuring we're eating enough protein so that we're not breaking down the stuff that we don't want to. We're not getting rid of muscle or getting rid of fat at the end of the day.
Yeah, dude, you hit on like 20 different points. The one that I really want to make sure I drove home is like, I like to think of like your day as like a pizza, and that pizza is cut into 24 slices, like hours on a clock, right? All the way around a circle. And like, if you're somebody who is training incredibly hard, I would say probably you're spending too long if you're in the gym for an hour and a half or 2 hours. Sometimes I think that's a long time. If you're working super hard, maybe if you're chatting and whatnot, and it's more of a social environment, it's not quite as much. And we can talk about this one too. It's another fitness myth that we can hit in a bit. But if you can imagine like that pie, even if you were there for 2 hours, that's like 1/12 of the pie is gone, and that's going to be that time that you're training, and whether that you spend 2 hours running or you spend 2 hours doing some sort of other cardio, swimming, whatever, biking. Think about the rest, the other 22 pieces of pizza of the 24 that are all going to be in there that you're essentially like those are the times where it's most of your day. That's where that basal metabolic rate is going to be super, super important. Calories burned at rest, all those things. So sometimes it's like, hey, what are the things that I can do that aren't quite as tangible as spending 2 hours running? That maybe you can be more efficient and effective in the way that you're taking your food in. You could be more effective in the fuel that you're providing, whether that's eating a little bit cleaner or sleeping better. Actually, can even help your metabolism out a ton also. So it's not always like a direct one-to-one relationship where, hey, more cardio equals more weight loss. There's a ton of different factors that kind of go into it, which you hit on a bunch of them too.
Yeah, I like that analogy too. I remember there was some coach that I used to work at the gym with, and she would say this 1 hour workout, like at the end of every workout, she would say this 1 hour workout is only 14% of your day. When you think about it, like that's such a small fraction. So just thinking about the other, 86% of your day that you could then be making other healthy habits than just spending an hour on the treadmill, that goes a long way in the long run.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Let me get another one of these fitness myths out here. Oh, I kind of alluded to it a second ago. You have to train. Myth number 3. We're on number 3, right? You have to train for 1.5 hours to 2 hours to see results. What do you think about that?
You definitely don't. And I think a lot of people, when they first get into the gym, do. And I'll admit that I did that too. I thought every workout had to be at least an hour. And that if I was finishing my workout even at 58 minutes, I was like selling myself short. But at the end of the day, like if you think about how much of that hour you're actually spending moving, you're probably not moving that much. So instead, doing a more efficient, 30 to 45-minute workout is going to be just enough. And even if you're just getting out and walking, like any movement throughout the day is better than no movement. And I think just giving our bodies the grace that it needs to just meet ourselves where we're at and do what we can instead of feeling that we have this pressure that we need to be working out for an absurd amount of time. That's going to actually be more sustainable in the long run and lead to actual long-term results.
Yeah, dude. And I will say too, as kind of like a point that's slightly adjacent, I'm going to go off on a bit of a tangent, is like having that plan, right? Like if you're in there and you're being effective with the plan that you have, like you're probably not going to need to be in there for an hour and a half or 2 hours a day. You can get in there, get your work done, and then get out. And again, that's if you're trying to be super efficient and effective. The gym space sometimes for people is a communal space. So like, hey, you want to hang out, you're going to go do a lift or run with a partner or whatever. And then I'd say like, hey, you're getting something else out of that. But if the result and the goal that you're looking for is like, hey, I'm just going to go get my workout in, and you're there for 2 hours without having like a real structured plan, it can be super tough for you to get in and out and be super efficient and effective, because you finish your set on the bench press, and then you're like, I wonder what I'm going to do now. And then you're kind of like playing on your phone, or you're looking up like, hey, I want a chest try split or whatever. And you're trying to like come up with this stuff while you're there. And it's like, well, if you took a little bit of time beforehand or working with a bomb coach like Mia over here, you'd be able to set those things up kind of beforehand and have that plan before you go. So kind of related to being efficient and effective, but also making sure that, hey, you're doing the work as you're getting after that too.
Yeah, and I don't think most people have like an hour and a half to 2 hours in their day to train. I think that's an absurd amount of time. And like Blaise said, like if it's a social thing, like yeah, that's great, but being more efficient, knowing that we can maximize our time elsewhere, is going to be better in the long run than killing ourselves for an absurd amount of time, which will probably inevitably lead to burnout too.
Totally. Okay. Let me hit on another one of these bad boys while we're here. This was one that I thought was pretty interesting, and it was eating late at night causes weight gain. Talk to me. I know you're gonna hit me with an ice cream fact. Hit me with it, dude. Hit me.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter when you eat food. You're still eating the food. Like, yeah, we can go into the whole discussion about maybe now our body's not going to sleep as well because our body's trying to digest instead of actually resting, whatever, sure. But at the end of the day, that's not going to make you fat. What's going to help make you gain weight is eating too much of foods that aren't necessarily good for you. And that's when our body's going to start to hold on to that excess weight. Like Blaise mentioned, I love ice cream. I'm not going to lie. Every night before I go to bed, I have a bite of ice cream because it makes me happy. So, like, just because I'm eating that bite, at 8 o'clock at night versus eating it at noon, it isn't any more or less calories. It's the same amount of calories. And it's just, you need to think about it in terms of how many calories. I wouldn't even say how many calories you're eating in the span of a day. I would look at it more on like a weekly average. Like, just because maybe one day you go over your calories, that doesn't mean that then you're necessarily going to gain weight, because maybe then the next day you're under your calories and then you're at maintenance. So kind of like what we talked about with the scale, looking at it as a weekly average. Okay, did I hit where I needed to be like over the course of the week? Yes or no? Then yes, that's going to put us in the right position. But if we eat, 2,000 calories at night versus 2,000 calories first thing in the morning, it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, so I really love a couple of things you said. The first thing I love that you said was talking about the weekly average, right? We work with clients, and there's some people that are on we'll call like old school style of plan where they really want to track food in like a MyFitnessPal, and that's great. Excuse me, that's one way that you can kind of do it and skin the cat if you want to be like really analytical about the way that you're training and the way that you're eating. And it definitely works for a ton of people, and they've seen a ton of results that way. But sometimes when they're recording that stuff, they're like, oh my gosh, like today I had a Costco pizza and now like I can't recover. And then what it does is just completely demoralize and derail you for the rest of the week. And then you're like, I don't know what to do. And then you lose that confidence when you were hitting your macros and you were hitting your calorie goal over time. So I couldn't agree with you enough. It's like, hey, look at the week. And we've even done stuff too where like working with one of our clients where they're like, hey, I'm going to a wedding this weekend. What can I do to set myself up for success? Because I want to be able to have some drinks at the wedding. I want to not be as stringent with the food that I'm eating, blah, blah, blah. And they're one of these people that really likes to be analytical about their food intake. And I was like, sweet. What we can do is we can get into a 200 or so calorie deficit for each day during the week, and then you can go nuts at the wedding, dude. You can have 6 drinks there, more than you would have, and you're going to be good to go. So there's a ton of different ways to skin the cat. Just because you're eating late at night does not mean that you will gain weight. And yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. A lot of the points that you're saying is, comes back to that calories in, calories out. It comes back to the law of thermodynamics, which again is undefeated. Although I will say the one caveat to that I've learned as of pretty recently is the order in which you eat your food can sometimes help you be more efficient in the way that you digest it. And the analogy I'll give you is like, hey, I live in a home that was built in like 1925. So my attic has 0 insulation on the walls. So if you think about the effectiveness of my metabolism as like my air conditioner, and like how effective is my air conditioner, how much does my air conditioner have to work to do a space that's not insulated versus a space that's insulated. And that's how I would say like, hey, that's the way that your body is bringing in food and breaking it down. So if you want to try and be more efficient and effective with the way that you're breaking your food down, if you take in your like leafy vegetables first in your meal, followed by your lean proteins. The leafy vegetables kind of grease up your intake for the food, gets you kind of primed and ready to go. The proteins are going to be coming in delivered, and then your carbohydrates are coming in last. You don't necessarily have to eat less. Just changing the order in which you eat can help you be a little bit more efficient, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. And I feel like too, with like what you were saying about eating your vegetables first, I kind of got into a habit of doing that because I like vegetables to an extent, but kind of getting the worst part of the meal done first does feel a little bit good. And you get the best, you save the best for last, just like
You
dessert.
can't eat ice cream first, dude. You
Yeah,
know the deal.
nothing's going to be as good. So eat your vegetables first to help your gut and then also get them out of the way.
All right. This next myth is one that I feel personally attacked by because of my, I guess we'll call it, I don't even know what to call it. The ego, I guess, that an athlete probably has. And it's, if you're not sore, you didn't work hard enough. Geez Louise. So I'll say this is something, and I'll start off with this one just because I felt so triggered and and attacked by it. As a kid, I feel like this was like real, dude. Like I would like leave the gym, and the next day, if I woke up and I wasn't sore, I'd be like, what did I even do? Like, and if you're thinking about it, like just because you're sore doesn't necessarily mean that it was a bad workout. You know, there are training sessions, and actually I threw up something on my story the other day of like, I woke up and I was like smoked from a full day of travel. And I went and, you know, worked out, which really was just doing some mobility and then doing a run. And I wasn't sore from that. But what I did do is I afforded myself the ability to recover so that I could really, really perform in the next training session instead of just pushing myself beyond, putting myself in a position of exhaustion and then potentially hurting myself or not being able to kind of come back and hit it again. And at the end of the day, like that one training session, that one thing that you did is not going to define your health journey as a whole, right? I like to think about it like if you were seeing like 365 people in a room, right? If one of those people walk out of the door, you're not going to notice that they're not there. You know, and even if you're somebody who works out like 3 times a week, 3 by 52, what's that, 156 workouts in a week, put those same 156 people in a room, the same thing applies. Like one person walks out and there and those 155, because you, even if you skipped a complete day, then it's not going to change that too much. So yeah, definitely can relate. And I feel like young, especially male athletes probably can relate to that. If you're not sore, you didn't work hard enough. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. And I really like that analogy about the people in a room. And I feel like I find that I'm most sore, not necessarily when I work out really hard, but when I do something new. So I'm testing my body in a different way that maybe it hasn't been tested before. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it was something hard. Like I was sore this past week because I did Bulgarian split squats, which I haven't done in a very long time. And I didn't do heavy weight or anything. It was just trying something new that I have hate. So I took them out of my programming for a while. And then I woke up the next day and was sore. And it wasn't necessarily a testament to how hard I worked out. It was just a new novel training stimulus for my body. So I think, yes, it's very easy to get caught up in the I'm not working hard if I'm not sore. But at the end of the day, you want your workouts to leave you feeling good, not feeling defeated every single day. And if that's the way that you're feeling, then it might be time to kind of reevaluate and make a change to what you're doing.
Yeah, dude. And I will say this myth wasn't on there too, but you kind of alluded to another great point, which is like about training and like what's the goal. And I like to say that as like, hey, is your goal to go and train and work out, and then like, you know, maybe that's like you want to look a certain way or whatever, but if you can make like exercise the result of you doing something that you enjoy, it's way more effective over time, and you can be more consistent. So like the analogy is like, okay, maybe you're somebody who's a basketball player and you're like, oh yeah, dude, I play basketball like 3 times a week. You know what? You don't need to do cardio, bro, because you know what you're doing? You're doing the cardio that you need. You could strength train twice a week, and then boom, you could call yourself like you're a 5-day-a-week type of workout person, and you're doing something that you love, that you can sustain because it's easy for you and you're doing something that's fun. So play more, man. Like play more and enjoy doing the journey, because that's what it's all about. If Mia didn't love running, I don't think that it would be quite as something that you'd be doing. Or this was it 50K that you're about to embark in pretty soon?
Yeah, 50K in less than a month. It's a little scary.
Yeah, dude, you're sick. You're sick. Okay, that's about it for the big miss that I wanted to hit on. I'm super excited for us kind of being on a more regular schedule. Mia and I doing these. Mia also got a new job that I'm hoping in the next couple weeks we can hear more about. I'm super stoked to hear about you whooping some Navy SEALs into shape after they get back from deployments, and we can definitely chat about it more later on. But I got to run. Thank you all for listening. Please, if you guys can, give us a like, leave us a 5-star review. It really helps us kind of grow and get the message out for other people. And if this helped you guys in any way, send us a message. We really love to hear about it. And we will chat with you guys next week. See ya.
See ya.